Okay, so we're turning to something a little bit different now. A lot of people listening will play Fantasy Premier League every week, but some have taken to a new platform called Sorare. The game is very similar to your run of the mill fantasy football games, except for one key difference: NFTs. Joining me on the line to explain what Sorare is Joey Durso, an investigative journalist for The Athletic, who has taken a bit of a deep dive into what Sorare is and why there could be some potential issues with it in the future. Joey, you're very welcome along.
Thank you.
So, this is quite a complicated story, and there are a lot of terms that we need to know when we're diving into it. The first will be NFTs. So, this is something that has popped up quite a bit on social media over the last couple of months, and over the last year or so, NFTs have become a bit of a commonplace. But for those who don't know what they are, could you explain what they are?
Yeah, so NFT stands for non-fungible token. And what it is it's a digital way of proving scarcity. So if you have like a football trading card, there's only 10 of them printed. But NFT uses this blockchain technology to basically prove that it's scarce. So you can kind of prove that there's only 10 of these things or one of these things. And, people like to believe that this could be the kind of future of, instead of having panini stickers or cards, you'll have these non-fungible tokens. The kind of issue is that this is becoming a very kind of hot market, very speculative, huge sums of money flying around. And this game is basically using NFTs as a sort of trading card. So you'll have like a Mo Salah card, and there might be one of them a unique card, and then there might be 10 of the rare cards. So a sort of limited pool of these, which are then used in a fantasy football game, and which you can actually win cash prizes from, which means that the NFTs change hands for really huge sums of money, like some of them 300, 400,000 euros.
So essentially, what Sorare is fantasy football in the same way that you would normally have your you pick your team, you have transfers, except you actually own the cards themselves.
Yeah, I'd say it's like halfway between. If you think about like physical trading cards, it's halfway between a digital version of that and fantasy football.
Okay.
With a key difference that you get cash prizes, which you don't. Yeah.
So when you're talking about things like this, obviously a lot of things go on behind the scenes in football that we don't really hear about. But one of those things is sort of image rights and the rights of the players. So how do Sorare use the images of the players? Are they in partnership with the clubs, or how do they sort of use that?
Yeah, so to use the real likenesses of the players, they have to have an agreement with the club. So La Liga, I think, got 200 and something clubs. They've got La Liga in Spain, the Bundesliga in Germany. No Premier League teams, interestingly. Liverpool had it for a bit, and then that's kind of ended. But there's constantly new leagues, Turkey, Russia. But for a lot of these clubs and leagues, it's kind of free money, right? Because you can give away your sort of intellectual property that doesn't cost you anything, and people will pay you for that, and people will pay money for these things. So for clubs, it's like a bit of a cash cow.
Yeah, and there are a lot of players that we've seen involved, especially in the La Liga. Antoine Griezmann is certainly one of them.
Yeah.
Jared Piqué
So
is another
Gerard
one. If
Piqué,
people were following his page, he was posting a selfie a day for about a year there, and then now suddenly they're being used as NFTs. Am I right?
I'm not sure. I've not heard of that. What is that?
So on his Instagram, if you go onto his page, it's just scrolls and scrolls of him taking a selfie of his face, and now
Okay.
he's been using them as NFTs. Maybe it's not part of the So Rare, but I believe that is the case anyway. But in terms of the cards themselves, so you mentioned that there are normal cards, there are rare cards, and there are super rare cards. So what would be the differences in those, and what would be the price range you're looking at for those?
Yeah. So the unique is like one of a kind. So like take Mo Salah, there'll be one. Well, then sorry, that's a bad example because Liverpool don't have to deal anymore. Take Griezmann at Atletico Madrid. There'll be one unique Griezmann card this season, 10 super rare, 100 rare, and 1,000 limited. And at the top, Cristiano Ronaldo went for 290,000 euros. Another one went for 400,000 euros. And it's just this very kind of speculative hot market. Like, are people really buying them because they like it, they think it'll be useful, or are they buying it because they think in a month's time they can flip it for more money? And it's like, the kind of issue which I tried to make clear in the article is like, this stuff is saying it's like football cards or saying it's like fantasy football, and actually behind it is this quite speculative financial, and you talk to people who are using it, and they're like, these aren't these rich guys spending 200,000. They're these kind of, average guys who are putting in like 1,000 or 2,000, an amount that's kind of serious money for most people, but gets you on the kind of very early stages of this game. And that's, I think, where it's quite worrying, because if this whole thing were to go belly up, your big like crypto investors would probably like be fine. They've probably got their fingers in loads of pies. But some football fan who's seen it on Instagram just put in like a couple of thousand might be pretty stunned.
Yeah. So you mentioned crypto there. In previous times, if we're taking this from the point of view that these are online football cards, you would have walked into a shop and paid cash money and went home, and you had a physical card to carry. So online, it's a little bit different. They are using cryptocurrencies. So if somebody wants to get involved in this, do they first have to purchase some sort of crypto, be that Bitcoin or whatever else they want to do, and then sign up for Sorare?
It's a cryptocurrency called Ethereum, which is, I guess, like the number 2 in the world after Bitcoin. And the cryptocurrency markets have gone crazy in the last 6 months or so. Like Ethereum has gone up just so much. Nothing to do with this company or anything, but it means that these people who kind of have been pushing around Ethereum, playing a game, have just got incredibly rich, which is kind of a weird side effect of all this. But we don't know that this stuff will go up forever. And if it doesn't, you don't want to be left holding the bag, I guess.
Yeah. So let's talk about the potential issues with this, because there are several. The main ones popping up are sort of not so much the issues with people getting involved, but the way that Sorare markets itself. So they've been saying that they are explicitly not a gambling website. They're explicitly not an investment platform. But with crypto, with all these different things online, largely unregulated so far. So you're looking at potential real life issues here for normal people, as you might say.
Yeah, this is all sprung up so quickly that countries just aren't really ready for it. There's no rules in place. It's not the same as normal gambling, so it doesn't really come under gambling regulations. It's not the same as typical financial investment, so it doesn't fall under them, which basically means that there's very little regulation whatsoever. So if this goes belly up, if you invest in a company or if you gamble and then the gambling company goes bust, there's a sort of regulator overseeing that. But here, there's nothing.
Mm-hmm. What about the investment firms that you mentioned in your piece? So a regular person might invest £1,000 or £2,000, maybe not even that much. Whereas Sorare, they don't have any rules. They have a rule against creating multiple accounts under your name, but am I right in saying they don't have a rule against people funding their money together and sort of using this as a platform to invest upon?
Yeah, so 3 of the biggest users team up in this quantitative hedge fund, they call it, called Blackpool. And they make millions of dollars in rewards in this sort of, very financialized. The way they talk about it is like a sort of hedge fund, investing, risk, assets, finance. And, like if people want to get into that, then it's not for me to tell them not to. But I think the way the platform is marketed through football is very different to this. And they constantly say this isn't about financial investment. It's like, okay, well, these guys at the top who are getting millions of dollars in rewards, they're clearly treating it as finance. And one of those guys I found on a podcast, he was saying, oh, I basically think of Sorare as a high stakes poker game. And it's like, that is not the party line.
Yeah, and I did a quick search on YouTube as well this morning for Sorare, and there are countless videos showing you how to make money from playing Sorare.
Yeah, and that's clearly how lots of people are treating it, and lots of people have made money in this kind of crypto bull market recently. Lots of stuff has gone up very quickly, but it's very, risky stuff, and it could just go down tomorrow. And so just buyer beware. Like, I'm not telling people not to do this. All I'm just saying is be aware that it can go down as quickly as it can go up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what we're looking at here is a game that you can make money from, but it's pretty hard to make money from because these investment firms have pretty much all the markets sewn up already because they were in early. Is that right?
Yeah, so the people with the most cards by far are people who are in this game early. People who started with, are now millionaires because of this whole thing has just gone like crazy. But if you're getting in now, it's so much harder. Buying those cards involves spending lots of money because you weren't in this sort of wave of currency appreciation that has sort of made lots of people rich. Like you're kind of too late for that. And yeah, you might make money, but it's kind of, you'll need to stump up a lot up front, and it's risky and it's hard.
Mm-hmm. So
But anyway,
just to
supposedly this thing isn't about making money at all. It's just about, collecting things. They say that, I kind of represent to the company and lots of users, like, but what if the whole market collapses? Like, and that they will say, oh, but you've still got an NFT. Like, which is quite baffling to me. It's like, say you held a rare card of Pele that's worth like £500,000, which these things exist, and then it just like collapsed to nothing tomorrow. Like, oh, you've still got this piece of card. Well, it seems apparent to me that so much of the value is attached to the financial value of these things.
Yeah. So the card might be worth that amount because of Sorare, but if Sorare goes down, then the value of that card surely does as well.
Yeah, so the NFT like exists outside of Sorare. It's up, it's on the blockchain. Like you can trade it on websites like OpenSea, but it's a very weird area. Like, for example, lots of people use this analogy of art. They say, the Mona Lisa, that's just worth what other people. You could copy and paste it, couldn't you? You could do a copy which looked identical. Why wouldn't that be as much? And it's because it's unique, because you can prove that it's the original. And the same with like NFTs. Like, okay, I can copy and paste a Cristiano Ronaldo, right click and save for 400,000, and I've got it. But no, because it's not unique. But I mean, the problem I have with that analogy is that, like, for 500 years, the Mona Lisa has been a huge deal. Like, everyone knows what it is. Everyone knows what Da Vinci is. Like, in 10 years' time, I highly doubt the Mona Lisa is going to be like worth nothing, even though it might be volatile. With this, like Cristiano Ronaldo NFTs, like, who knows? Like, this could be a bubble that pops, and that thing will be worth zero. Or or like Bitcoin, like 5 years ago, could just keep on going up and up and up. Who knows? Like, I'm not making predictions like that. I just think it's entirely possible that this whole thing just goes pop and people lose huge sums of money.
Well, we saw a similar enough, not identical, but a similar enough startup company that got quite large, and then suddenly it doesn't exist anymore in Football Index, which was a similar enough idea where it was basically a stock market for football players. It was a new idea, and then got really big, and then suddenly it just doesn't exist, and people lost a lot of money from that as well. So there are definite risks involved when you're investing your own money in an online company like this. So just to wrap it up,
I did a lot of reporting on that. That was a regulated gambling company, and these companies, crypto companies, they're legally not gambling companies, so they're treated differently. But many of the risks are the same.
Yeah. So where do we go from here then? Where do you see this leading down the road? Because I guess as gambling becomes more of a taboo subject in football, we're seeing some organizations try push gambling out of sponsorships and things like this, sort of the way it went with alcohol and cigarettes in the late 90s. We're seeing a rise in crypto and online currencies being pushed as the new sponsors and getting much more involved in football. Is this something that you can see potentially going the same way as gambling, getting as big and as much of a foothold within the game of football as gambling has?
Yeah, very much so. And you're completely right about the gambling point. I mean, also in the UK, there's this government gambling review is coming soon, which a lot of people think will ban gambling shirt sponsorship entirely. So the kind of trend of gambling sponsors in football is definitely on decline, and this stuff is filling the gap. But you only have to look at like Italy, where they banned gambling spots a couple of years ago, and some of their crypto sponsors are just wild. I mean, these sort of tokens that have no like physical address or names attached to them, sponsoring like Napoli or some of these companies, I have no idea like who they are, where they are, who's behind them. But like, is that really better than a kind of regulated gambling company which like has an address and is listed on Companies House and pays taxes somewhere? Like, not to say that all these gambling companies are great, but like at least they like tangibly exist. Whereas some of these crypto projects, not so rare, but some of these crypto projects popping up in Italian football are just like bonkers.
Okay. Something to keep an eye on then. So Joey Durso, if people want to read your piece, they can get it on The Athletic, which I believe is available at a shorter price now because of Black Friday or Cyber Monday.
Yeah, there's always discounts of some kind. I'm not sure exactly how much now, but yeah, if you go on my Twitter feed, Joey Durso or The Athletic, you'll be able to read it there.
Well, I appreciate your time today, Joey. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.